والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, we continue inshallah ta'ala with Kitab al-Riqaq, chapter of al-Riqaq, or the things that soften the hearts. That hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that when a person hears it, it should soften the heart. And if we still find our hearts are not softened after hearing these hadith, and also the ayat that sometimes you will mention them in the titles of the chapters, that means we need to do something to our hearts. We need to work on our hearts, which is the foundation of any goodness. Without the deeds done by the heart, there's no goodness whatsoever in our physical actions. Iman is made of four things: the belief in the heart, and the deeds done by the heart, and the speech of the tongue, and the physical actions. The speech of the tongue and the physical actions, what we say, what we do, it has to have the belief in the heart, of course, because the deeds would not be accepted unless a person is a Muslim. And the deeds done by the heart, sincerity, and sometimes devotion if it's salah, and so on. So these are the common acts that has to be present at all times. Every time we say something, every time we physically do something, our hearts is doing most of the work. The easiest or the least of the work is done physically, and most of the work is done by the heart. The belief and the actions done by the heart, the sincerity, the devotion, the fear of Allah, the hope for the rewards of Allah, being pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of this has to be present in the heart when the person is doing the acts of worship, and the same thing with the remembrance of Allah and so on. So the heart is something that is so important for us to work on it and not to waste our time without purifying our hearts. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, as from Ibrahim alayhi salam, وَلَا تُخْزِنِي يَوْمَ يُبْعَثُونَ يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. Ibrahim alayhi salam making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He does not disgrace him in the day of resurrection, when it's a day there is no offsprings nor wealth will benefit the person, إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ, except the one that will come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the day of judgment with a sound heart. Salim means it's safe, is clean from any means of impurities, starting from kufr and shirk and associating partners with Allah to the least amount of dirt, which is with the sins and forgetfulness and so on. So that's why it's important that we soften the heart, so that we then have the deeds done in the hearts and the matters of belief also to be settled in it. We reached chapter number 5. He says, rahimahullah, باب من بلغ 60 سنة فقد أعذر الله إليه في العمر. لقوله تعالى أولم نعمركم ما يتذكر فيه من تذكر وجاءكم النذير, which means من بلغ 60 سنة, whoever reached 60 years, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him enough time for matters of excuses. He has no excuse anymore with matters of age. That means he has been given the time to die in the state of Islam and goodness and so on. Different than someone if he dies young. لقوله تعالى, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, أَوَلَمْ نُعَمِّرْكُمْ مَا يَتَذَكَّرُ فِيهِ مَنْ تَذَكَّرَ وَجَاءَكُمُ النَّذِيرُ, which more or less means, did we make you establish the earth, live long in earth, long enough that whoever is reminded to be reminded. وَجَاءَكُمُ النَّذِيرُ, and the Nadir, the warner, came to you. And the tafsir of the ayah, some said, as many of the ulama, they said, it is not specifically to a certain date or age. Some said 40 years old, some said 60 years old. But some said because the ayah doesn't mention a specific age, it basically means that the fact that you are alive now, that we're given time to repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the ayah is more or less condemning those who are still alive, and the Nadir came to them, the warner came to them, the message of the Prophet ﷺ. We know what is right and what is wrong, and we still have time. We still are alive to repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means if a person doesn't, this is a very dangerous thing, and he should not blame nobody but himself. If death comes before he will complete his iman. But once a person reaches, if a person Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him his great favor that he made him live long enough so that he can fix his actions and he can do what pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means he has no excuse, as the title would say. And also living a long time on earth is a favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the Prophet ﷺ, he said in the Hadith that from the goodness of the person, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make the person live long and his actions are good. That not live long for the joy of his life, that he is doing the act and being obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned also in the Hadith that إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَسْتَحِي أَنْ يُعَذِّبَ الشَّيْبَةِ الْمُسْلِمِ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to punish the Muslim that he gets grey hair. And that means he is more likely to be forgiven because of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he gave him that long life to repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's a good sign that a person lives long and not being deviated, but instead to be steadfast on the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يقول حدثنا عبد السلام ابن مطهر أو مطهر قال حدثنا عمر بن علي عن معن بن محمد الغفاري عن سعيد بن أبي سعيد المقبوري عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, أعذر الله إلى امرئ أخر أجله حتى بلغه 60 سنة, which means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the person all means of spaciousness and means to perfect his iman and so on. That means he has no excuse. To someone that akhara ajala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala postponed his ajal, his limit on this life, hatta ballaghahu 60 sana, till he made him reach the age of 60. So this is by the statement of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, Mutaba'a Abu Hazim wa Ibn Ajlan an al-Mukhburi. And if we look at our, it's important for us to ponder over how our life is and how life starts from being weak and then end up being weak if a person lives long as it's mentioned in the Quran. And also how that the person go from one stage to the other. We were nothing and then weak. We at all times depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then the person has the means of strength in his physical abilities and in his intellect and so on. And he's supposed to be obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not the opposite. And how that most people, when they are in their youth here, with their strength and so on, they have the means to do good, they would waste it in sins or in forgetfulness, right? And then, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them life, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants good for them, He will give them life even when they were forgetful, for them to repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's a good sign. But still, a person wasted so much of his youth here. And this is great ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the wisdom that once a person, he sees that every day is a treasure by itself for the person to repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The wisdom behind that we're still alive today is not to enjoy this life, but to repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to fix our deficiencies and shortcomings before the matter is too late. And that's why it's one of the great bounties of Allah, that soon everybody would lose it, as those who before us also they lost it. They became hostage to their deeds forever. Everlasting life based on the years, counted years that we live on the face of earth. The next hadith says, حدثنا علي بن عبد الله المديني قال حدثنا أبو صفوان عبد الله بن سعيد قال أخبرنا يونس عن ابن شهاب قال أخبرني سعيد بن المسيب أن أبا هريرة رضي الله عنه قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول, Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, لا يزال قلب الكبير شابا في اثنتين في حب الدنيا وطول الأمل. And this hadith is amazing, like all the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that a person when he was young, sometimes he thinks that once I'm old I'll be a better person. First of all, nobody guarantees that he can take another breath on the face of earth. That comes at any time. But people think that once you reach old age, you won't care too much about this dunya, the desires and so on, so you will be definitely a better person. The hadith is negating this, saying, لا يزال قلب الكبير شابا. لا يزال means it will continue to be. The heart of the kabir, the heart of the one old in age, kabir does not mean big, but means old in age. So the heart of the person that is old in age will continue, la yazal will continue, shabban. Shabban means youth. His heart will continue to be young. And the word shabab and shab is the one that is still just came out of his being a child, basically. So the heart of the one that is old in age will continue to be young in two things. Fitnatayn. Of course, the heart is getting old. That's why a person will get sick, right? And the heart gets weak, and some people, they get heart problems and so on. We're not talking about the physical heart. We're talking about the heart that is mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. The more a person will get older, the more his heart will be young in two things. Fitnatayn. Fi hubb ad-dunya, in the love of this dunya. Wa tul al-amal. Tul al-amal means the long hope in this life. So it would never end. So if a person thinks that it's going to be just something temporary for him to live a life of a sin and then he would repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it gets worse and worse. The roots of his sins is like a tree where a person, as Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, he gave that example when people are, there's a tree on their way to the masjid, for example. And they wanted to take it off because it's blocking the passage of the people. And if people would say, well, wait till next year, we'll get stronger. Now we're weaker, we'll work out maybe or something. And then next year we'll get it out because we'll have, stronger muscles. What happened next year? The tree gets stronger with its roots deep down. Right? So they get stronger, but the tree is much, much stronger than them. So the same thing, whoever think that waiting for the moment to come for him to change his life later because the circumstances will be better, after he makes a certain amount of money, or after this or that, he is fooling himself, he's deceiving himself. First, he cannot guarantee his life. The second thing is, which is dangerous, still even if a person is still alive, it will get more difficult for him, because the heart will be more polluted with the sins, and the person can be totally deviated from the truth. As we know, the matter of Iman and to be steadfast on the truth, as the early generations of Islam, they used to fear the most. It's not a decision that you would easily make, and then you start doing. The hearts are owned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and as the ayah in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اسْتَجِيبُوا لِلَّهِ وَلِلرَّسُولِ إِذَا دَعَاكُمْ لِمَا يُحْيِيكُمْ وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَحُولُ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَقَلْبِهِ. Which means, we believe, istajibu, respond to the call from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And if he calls you to what is your life, is your real life, which is being to be obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَاعْلَمُوا, and this is where the warning and the danger is. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ, know that Allah, يَحُولُ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَقَلْبِهِ. Yahul means being a barrier between the person and his heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will prevent the person to be in control of his heart. That means, what the ayah means, that if a person does not respond to the call from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can seal his heart. And once the heart is sealed, a person, no matter how much he wants to be good, it doesn't matter. He is deprived from being good. He will be deviated from guidance. And that's what terrified the early generations of Islam when it comes to sins more than anything else. It wasn't a sin versus a good deed. They were so much having the fear that the sin can cause them to be deviated and to die even in the state of kufr wal-'iyadhu billah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful, and that's why a person should always have in his heart this eagerness to be steadfast on the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the love of the dunya and the long hope, something that will never get old into the heart of the person, and this is even seen clearly. The young people usually, they are braver, much braver, than those who gets older, right? And a person is older, he's so much worried about his life more than anyone else, right? You would find taking sure that the means are done and the medicine, and he won't jump from a cliff, for example, or the thing that people would do. When they're young, they will do things. The more you get older, the more that you will be so careful for your health, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but it shows that the love of the dunya and the long hope, something that is present in the heart of every single human being, and it keeps getting younger, or it still stays young even if a person is old in age. And of course, these statements, nothing no one will inform you better than if it comes from the wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so the person will make decisions. So it implies something, and that is to give up on matters of the love of this dunya and the lahu. And the love of the dunya, there is nothing wrong with it to be an instant present in the hearts of a Muslim. Umar radiallahu anhu, as the hadith will come later about the wealth, one came from Bahrain, the hadith will give inshallah ta'ala. But Umar radiallahu anhu, whenever the booty of the war and things starts getting to them with wealth and so on, he said something in the meaning of which, Umar radiallahu anhu, that, oh Allah, the love of the dunya is something that we cannot push away from our heart. This is something instinct in the hearts of the human beings. But what is condemned is when it takes the person away from the what has been created for. And the same thing with Daar-Ul-Islam. Daar-Ul-Islam, the long hope, something that we should decide to take it away from our lives, as the statement from Umar radiallahu from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, كُنْ فِي الدُّنْيَا كَأَنَّكَ غَرِيبٌ أَوْ عَابِرُ سَبِيلٍ, that was mentioned last week. Be in this dunya like a stranger or a wayfarer. And he said, إِذَا أَصْبَحْتَ فَلَا تَنْتَظِرِ الْمَسَاءَ وَإِذَا أَمْسَيْتَ فَلَا تَنْتَظِرِ الصَّبَاحَ. If you are in the morning, don't wait for the evening. If it's the evening, do not wait for the morning. Then he says, حدثنا مسلم بن إبراهيم قال حدثنا هشام الدستوائي قال حدثنا قتادة عن أنس بن مالك رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يكبر ابن آدم ويكبر معه اثنان. The son of Adam, he gets bigger, means he gets older. ويكبر معه اثنان, and with him two things will get bigger. Not old here. The word yakbar, he's getting bigger physically, yes, but he's getting old in age. But the other one that becomes big with him, it's big, not old. Two things, حب المال وطول العمر. حب المال. This narration says حب المال, the love of al-mal or wealth. And the dunya and the mal, many times they are used interchangeably. Because the man is, or this life without money becomes sometimes to many people suffering. So, حب المال, which is something also in the instinct of the human being, حب المال وطول العمر, that everybody would wish to live as long as they can. And nobody would deny that. Everybody wants to live long. But for the believers, right, they don't seek to live long to enjoy this life. They would seek the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and after all, after everything has been written, and the moment when a person will depart from this life is already set, there is no change to it whatsoever. So instead of worrying when the person will die or where he will die, a person should worry more how he will die, how the ending of his life will be. Is it on the state of the deen of Islam, the state of the ta'ah, obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the end of his life is a good deed, or وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, a person to be dying in a bad ending of his life. What matters really is the end of one's life, and nobody can guarantee anything, and that's why a person should turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It says Rabb Shu'ba an Qatada, same hadith. Then he says, باب العمل الذي يبتغى به وجه الله يقول فيه سعد. The amal or the action that الذي يبتغى به وجه الله. The action that a person would seek by this action, the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning the implication of it, the reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or as it is, it means to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the day of judgment, because the believers, they would see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the day of judgment and when they enter Jannah, and those who will be deprived from seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the disbelievers. So when a person is doing the deed, he's seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he's seeking also the reward that he would be among those who would see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the utmost pleasure of the people of Jannah. There is nothing better for them than for them to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as it's mentioned in the hadith, that whenever they would see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Jannah, they will be heedless of any sort of joy in Jannah, and this will occupy them so much that this is the ultimate and the most joy that they will have in Jannah, and they would return back to their wives and so on in a more beautiful way and light as a result of them meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those who see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the day of judgment. It's one of the dua of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, which is اللهم إني أسألك النظر إلى وجهك الكريم في غير ضراء مضرة ولا فتنة مضلة. Prophet ﷺ used to make that dua. Oh Allah, I ask you to see, to look at your face in the day of judgment without harm before or fitna. That means that one's life is not going through fitan, tribulations and harm before he would get to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the day of judgment. So what is this amal, or what is this action that a person would seek? The pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he says, وَفِيهِ سَعْدٍ. In the title he says, Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, وَفِيهِ سَعْدٍ. In this subject there is Sa'd. What does that mean? He refers to Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu in the hadith of al-Wasiyah. In the hadith of al-Wasiyah of the will. When Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu was sick, and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam visited him, and Sa'd radiallahu anhu, he asked the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam that he said, I have a lot of wealth, and I want to give my wealth, and he wants to write his will. And he asked the Prophet ﷺ, can he write half of his wealth to put it in the will? The Prophet ﷺ told him no. So he said to him, thuluth, 1/3 of it. The Prophet ﷺ approved it, and in some narrations he says, thuluth kathir or kabir. 1/3, that's fine, and 1/3 is too much, but it's permissible. And that's why it's better to write in the will less than 1/3. The will is different than the inheritance. Will is what a person has before he dies. He can write a will, or he can say a will, up to 1/3 of what he owns to be given to those who would not inherit from him by the laws of inheritance. Because it's not permissible to give from that 1/3 or less to those who would inherit from you anyway. Your sons or daughters or fathers and mothers and so on. Those who would not inherit, or a masjid or whatever, a person can write up to 1/3. The rest of the money should be inherited according to the laws of inheritance that is mentioned in the Quran and in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So this is the hadith of Sa'd radiallahu anhu. And in this hadith, the Prophet, he said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, ukhallafu ba'da ashabi. That means I would, should I say that who would be after me after I die? The Prophet ﷺ, he said to him, إِنَّكَ لَن تُخَلَّفْ فَتَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا تَبْتَغِي بِهِ وَجْهَ اللَّهِ إِذَا ازْدَدْتَ بِهِ دَرَجَةً وَرِفْعًا. He was worried about the hijrah, because they were in Mecca. And when they made hijrah from Mecca to Al-Madinah, they knew that the reward for them is when they don't go back to Mecca and live in Mecca, because they already left it for the sake of Allah. Even when Mecca became Daar-Ul-Islam, a place of the deen. But they still, the Muhajirin, they did not return back to Mecca, because they migrated away from it. Right? And that's why the hijrah, a person should not break it. Even if what he made hijrah from becomes a land of the deen. Why? Because the reward will be given for the one that made hijrah, when he dies in the place that he migrated to, the distance, there's a hadith, and it's a sound hadith from the Prophet ﷺ, that it will be measured for him from where he made hijrah from till where he died. All of that distance will be in the balance of his good deed. Except Sa'd ibn Khawla radiallahu anhu when he died in Mecca. Because he was with the Prophet ﷺ and they were making hajj, and he was sick and he died. Right? So there's no fault in him, but the Sahaba used to feel bad for him, that he died in Mecca, not in Al-Madinah. So Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, he lived afterwards. He did not die in this sickness. And the Prophet ﷺ, he told him that he would live and he would do the good deeds and so on. So the hadith, it says, حدثنا معاذ بن أسد قال أخبرنا عبد الله قال أخبرنا معمر عن الزهري عبد الله بن المبارك رحمه الله عن الزهري قال أخبرني محمود بن الربيع. محمود بن الربيع وزعم محمود أنه عقل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Mahmud ibn Rabi' is from the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, the But he was very young when the Prophet ﷺ died. That's why he says, وَزَعَمَ Mahmud ibn Rabi', his companion, he said that he عَقَلَ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. عَقَل, that means he remembered the Prophet ﷺ. He was very young and he remembered how the Prophet ﷺ looked like and so on. And he remembered a specific incident that happened. He said, وَقَالَ وَعَقَلَ مَجَّةً مَجَّهَا مِنْ بَلْوٍ كَانَتْ فِي دَارِهِ. He remembered Majjah. Majjah is إرسال الماء من الفم. Is when a person would spit out water from his mouth. He remembered that Prophet ﷺ doing that after taking some water from a bucket. Right? Either that he was playing with Mahmud ibn Rabi' and he was young also. So he remembered that very well. Right? So he says, قال سمعت عتبان بن مالك. He said, I heard عتبان بن مالك الأنصاري رضي الله عنه ثم أحد بني سالم قال, and one of the people of Bani Salim, he said, غدا علي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم came to me and he said, لن يوافي عبد يوم القيامة يقول لا إله إلا الله يبتغي به وجه الله إلا حرم الله عليه النار. The Prophet ﷺ said, there's no slave who will come on the day of judgment saying La ilaha illallah, saying La ilaha illallah, يبتغي به وجه الله. He seek by saying that وجه Allah, the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the day of judgment. إلا حرم الله عليه النار, unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would forbid the hellfire on him. So this is the deed when the person is seeking by this deed the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the day of judgment, which is the tawheed, the oneness of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the most important deed, that if it's done complete in the heart, it wipes all the sins, especially at the moment of death, if a person would say it and believe in it in the right way. And the hadith is not too difficult to understand, because the hadith does not mean a speech of the tongue that a person would say, and that's it, he's done, he can do whatever he wants. As long as he says it sincerely, he will enter Jannah without being punished in hellfire, because there's no contradiction in the ayat and the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. We know from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that some of this ummah died on La ilaha illallah and they will be in hellfire. And they used to make salah, and they used to give zakah. Right? And that's why the hadith of the the intercession of the Prophet ﷺ mentions that, the hadith where the believers will intercede and they will say, Oh Allah, these our brothers, كانوا يصلون معنا, they used to pray with us. They would see some of those who they used to pray with them in the hellfire after they passed as-sirat. And they would say they used to pray with us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would tell them, go back and get from the hellfire anyone that you know, meaning from the believers. And till Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take from the hellfire those who even have the weight of a mustard seed of Iman from their heart, meaning died in the state of Al-Islam. Those who died in the state of Al-Islam. So this is definitely known, but then some will be punished and some will enter Jannah immediately, and those who are punished eventually they will enter Jannah if they repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then there's no contradiction between this and the hadith here. Why? Because the hadith here talks about something else. Talks about the same thing, this is one meaning of it. That if a person dies on La ilaha illallah, he will enter Jannah eventually. But the hadith says, إِلَّا حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ النَّارِ, unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would forbid the hellfire on him. Some said forbid it on him to live in it eternally. Right? That means he would not live in the hellfire forever. For those who are punished, and then eventually will enter Jannah. And the other meaning, which is also a correct meaning, that if a person would say La ilaha illallah sincerely from his heart, he would never be persistently in the state of sin till the moment of his death. If it says sincerely from his heart, that means his heart is purely and fulfilling La ilaha illallah with his heart truly, he would never be persistently committing sins. Why? Because if a person says it truly from his heart, what does that mean? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one worthy of worship. That means the person would worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's truthfully saying it. And whenever he commits a sin, if La ilaha illallah is present in his heart truly, he he would definitely repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he will be always guided to repent. He says it truly, sincerely from his heart. So there's no contradiction, and that's why the iman increases and decreases with the good deeds and decreases with the bad deeds. So La ilaha illallah and the effect of it in the heart increases and decreases. Increases with the good deeds and decreases with the bad deeds. The bad deeds weakens the tawheed of the person. This is a very important concept that we have to understand. The tawheed is not an idea or a methodology or thinking that a person will have in his heart and that's it. It's done for the rest of his life. Yes, there is no one worthy of worship except Allah. This is a creed, this is a belief. But that weakens with the sins. The sins affect these matters of belief, can reach the person to a level where he is very weak in his matters of iman, and that's why to strengthen our iman is to increase the good deeds and so on. So this is the most important deed for a person to be saved from the hellfire. The second hadith, قال حدثنا قتيبة قال حدثنا يعقوب ابن عبد الرحمن عن عمرو عن سعيد المقبري عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال, Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, يقول الله تعالى, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is hadith Qudsi. That means it's not Quran, it's the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is saying it with his own way, but this was revealed to him from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as also the hadith was revealed to the Prophet alayhi sallam, but saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said such and such. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ما لعبد المؤمن عندي جزاء إذا قبضت صفيه من أهل الدنيا ثم احتسبه إلى الجنة. ما لعبد المؤمن, there is nothing for my believing slave, عندي, with me, جزاء, recompense or reward, إذا قبضت صفيه. If I, قبضت means take the soul of صفيه. صفيه means his chosen one. That's literally what it means, meaning his loved one. From the people of the dunya. ثم احتسبه. Then he sought help from or rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a result of that. إلا الجنة, he has no reward but Jannah. So that's what the hadith means. That means the reward of the believing slave. When his most beloved one, or when his beloved one in this life dies before him, and he grieves and he's sad and so on, but he seeks rewards from Allah. As a result of that, the only reward for him is Jannah, which is basically a great reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's why the statement is negation and exception, which is the highest level of exclusiveness, right? That Jannah is for that person for sure, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised, but with the condition that he is ihtasabahu. And ihtasabahu, as we said before, this is ubudiyatul ihtisab. To worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with al-ihtisab. Al-ihtisab is to count something. Not to count 1, 2, 3, but to count this deed to be for the sake of Allah. To make your deed that you do only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To seek rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the hereafter for whatever deed that a person do. So one of the things that we are ordered to have patience when calamities afflicts us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us with those who we know them in this life. Especially the loved ones or those who are close to us. A person have family, mothers, fathers, children, whatever. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will test the individual when one of his loved ones will die when he's still alive. It's test for the one that dies and the ones with him and all kinds of things. So if a person, one of his loved ones dies, we're supposed to do what? To be patient and to be pleased, which is a high level. To be pleased by the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and whoever knows what this life is all about, right? Once it happens, definitely the person is prepared for anything to happen because it's all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the Muslim is pleased with whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most wise. Nothing is decreed like this without the wisdom of Allah, without the knowledge of Allah, without the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we were not like the disbelievers when they say why there is killing and why there is death and how this and that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most wise. And the reason why they don't understand that because they don't understand the meaning of the ubudiyyah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ubudiyyah, to be in this, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it does not mean just to make some salah and that's it. It's the ubudiyyah to Allah by having sabr, patience, by struggle, by seeking rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at times of ease, at times of difficulties, right? Otherwise everybody will be fine when it's at times of ease. But when people would worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also at times of difficulties, then this is the real slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And who said that this life is meant for it to be the everlasting one? This is not the everlasting one. This is nothing but a test. To be tested with these different types of worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when a person is tested like this and he is patient and he seeks the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the person this great reward, but again with the condition is ثُمَّ احْتَسَبَ. Then he sought help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning in the hereafter. And a person think of it, yeah, it's easy to say, of course, definitely it's not that a person when his son dies, for example, he would, people will come and congratulate him and he's happy. This is against human nature. Sometimes when a person even sees these types of things in the books, as the ulama, they say, this is the Prophet ﷺ never done that. Prophet ﷺ, when his son Ibrahim died, he did not ask people to congratulate him or something like that. Prophet ﷺ, even he had tears. And he said, إِنَّ الْقَلْبَ لَا يَحْزَنُ, the heart is sad, is grieving. وَإِنَّ الْعَيْنَ لَتَدْمَعُ, and the eyes shed tears. وَإِنَّ لِفُرَاقِكَ يَا إِبْرَاهِيمُ لَمَحْزُونُونَ, and we are sad as a result of the furaq or the death of Ibrahim. And he said in it, وَلَا نَكُنُ إِلَّا مَا يُرْضِي رَبَّنَا, and we won't say anything except what pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So to be sad is a normal thing, there's nothing wrong with that, and the person is rewarded. But we don't take the means to be sad. We don't make ourselves sad. We don't increase our sadness, right? And a person should be pleased. He's sad, yes. Is that contradicting? A person is sad because he lost a loved one, and he's at the same time pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course, there's no contradiction. Being pleased that this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but he's the sadness that he would miss someone, or that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called it musibah, it's a calamity. Yes, but he's pleased that this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most wise subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most high, the most merciful. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that gives, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that takes. As the dhikr, what to say to someone as a way of condolences that the Prophet ﷺ used to say, لِلَّهِ مَا أَخَذْ وَلِلَّهِ مَا أَعْطَى وَكُلُّ شَيْءٍ عِنْدَهُ بِأَجَلٍ مُسَمًّى فَاصْبِرْ وَاحْتَسِبْ. To Allah what He took, and to Allah what He gave. He's the one that gave this life. He's Al-Wahhab subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? We do not, as it's mentioned many times, we did not earn this life to be alive. We did not earn it before we were born. We found ourselves alive. Who gave us life? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do we deserve it? We don't deserve anything. It was given to us. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes one's life away in this life, this is what normally would happen. So why would a person be terrified and panic and everything? Well, this is the reality of this life. It doesn't matter if he's a child or grown up or old or young. This is all owned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most wise subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Prophet ﷺ would say that وَكُلُّ شَيْءٍ عِنْدَهُ بِأَجَلٍ مُسَمًّى. Everything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with a specified time limits. It's by the breath that the person takes. So everything is set already. Then as a result of that, what does that imply if a person has this belief? فَاصْبِرْ وَاحْتَسِبْ. Be patient and seek وَاحْتَسِبْ. Seek rewards from Allah. Be patient, because this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَاحْتَسِبْ means seek rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the mercy of Allah. If it's فَاصْبِرْ only, if it's be patient only, we should be patient, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is of what we said, He's the one that created us and so on. But it's the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He ordered us to worship Him with al-ihtisab, to seek rewards also from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful. So it's a great mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and even as some of the originations of Islam, they said that when they mentioned the benefits, or why would a person would have intentions, or what to count, or what to seek rewards when you're getting married, to have children, for example, many things. But one of the strange things that they would mention, they would say, so that if someone dies from his children, he would seek rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not that he's getting married to have children and make dua that they die. This is against human nature. This is wrong. This is not the way of the Prophet ﷺ or the companions of the Allah. But if it happens, and a person would make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep him safe and his family and so on, this is a good thing. And this is dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if it happened, they are prepared to be pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be patient, with the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not to panic or be terrified and so on. So these are all means to seek rewards from Allah when we know the reality of this life that softens the hearts. Then he says, باب ما يحذر من زهرة الدنيا والتنافس عليها. The chapter of ما يحذر من زهرة الدنيا. What is a warning from the Zahra. Zahra is the flower. Ad-dunya, Zahra ad-dunya. Not the flower of the dunya, but basically the beauty of this world. What we have been warned against, the beauty or the adornment of this life that can take the person away from what he's been created for. وَالتَّنَافُسِ فِيهَا. Tanafus is to compete in this dunya, in this world, in a way also that makes the person forget why he's created and what his goal is, and things becomes mixed. The mean becomes goals, and the goals becomes means, and a person would just live his life running after the materialistic things of this dunya, and then he comes on the day of judgment with nothing, with no provisions for him, with no good deeds, and he had already indulged into the haram and so on. And there's the hadith, here more than one hadith, but it shows really the reality of this life. And as we said, when we say we follow the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ in everything, and one of which is how we see this life, and how we see our actions and so on, and how we deal with our hearts. So this is important that we have this ittiba', or to follow the way of the Prophet ﷺ. If he valued the dunya, then we value what he valued. Whatever he didn't value, ﷺ, we don't value it. Even if we're indulged in it, but we don't value it with our hearts, because this is the way of the Prophet ﷺ, and we are followers of the Prophet ﷺ. And when we see the life of the Prophet ﷺ, we then get the reality of things. He says, حدثنا إسماعيل بن عبد الله قال حدثنا إسماعيل بن إبراهيم بن عقبة عن موسى بن عقبة قال ابن شهاب بن زهري حدثني عروة بن الزبير أن المسور بن مخرمة أخبره أن عمرو بن عوف. All of these are companions. That عمرو بن عوف وهو حليف لبني عامر بن لؤي كان شهد بدرا. He was among those who witnessed Badr, the battle of Badr with the Prophet ﷺ, مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. And those who witnessed Badr, they had great honor. And there's always why this is specifically is mentioned, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave their sins. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he said to Umar radiallahu anhu, Ya Umar, لعل الله اطلع على أهل بدر فقال اعملوا ما شئتم فقد غفرت لكم. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looked at the hearts of the people of Badr, and he said to them, do whatever you want, I have forgiven you. But what did the people of Badr do? Right? They were more obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's even a miraculous thing. Right? That when the wahy comes and informs people that they are from the people of Jannah, and they continue to be steadfast on the deen of Allah, and obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is a miraculous thing. And they never deviated away from the truth. So he was from those who witnessed the battle of Badr مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. أخبره, he informed him أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بعث أبا عبيدة بن الجراح إلى البحرين يأتي بجزيتها. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم sent أبا عبيدة بن الجراح to Al-Bahrain يأتي بجزيتها, to bring its jizya. It's the jizya, the money that is taken from the people when they don't embrace Islam, as a way to protect them from and to make their houses and their countries and everything safe. Muslims, they pay zakat and so on, and for the non-Muslims this is the jizya, and they will be protected by the Muslims, right? So that they don't even join their army or so on, they will be protected under their protection. So he brought to him the jizya. وكان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم هو صالح أهل البحرين وأمر عليهم العلاء بن الحضرمي. Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم had a treaty with them, and he made العلاء بن الحضرمي their emir, their leader. فقدم أبو عبيدة بمال من البحرين. So Abu Ubaidah رضي الله عنه, he came with wealth from البحرين. فسمعت الأنصار بقلوبهم. Of course, each person, we need to talk about them, of course, but he says, فَسَمِعَتِ الْأَنصَارُ بِقُلُوبِ. The Ansar, the people of Medina, they heard that Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah, he came from Al-Bahrain with money. فوافقت أو يقول فوافقت صلاة الصبح مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. The narrator is saying فوافقت صلاة الصبح مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. That means I prayed صلاة الصبح, which is the Fajr prayer, with the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. And صلاة الصبح is the same as صلاة الفجر, no difference, right? Because some people, they think if they wake up after sunrise, they're praying subh. I don't know if they do that back home. I'm not sure if any other places they have this weird concept. That if they wake up after Fajr, they call it Salatul Subh. And I feel that they didn't do anything wrong. But if it's before sunrise, it's called Salatul Fajr. Right? It's both Salatul Fajr. And some of the hadith, Rak'atay al-Subh, the 2 rak'ah of the Subh, of the morning, which is the 2 rak'ah sunnah of Fajr. Right? So it's the same thing. So he prayed with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Salatul Fajr in the masjid. فلما انصرف, when the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم finished the salah, تعرضوا له. تعرضوا له, the hadith has great benefits when you follow one word after another. تعرضوا له means they showed themselves to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. The people of Al-Ansar, they were present, all came for the Fajr salah. It's not that they would pray at home, but they would pray in the masajid, because the masajid is far away, so they would pray in the masajid. But this particular salah, they all came to pray with the Prophet ﷺ because of the news of the wealth coming from Al-Bahrain. فَتَعَرَضُ لَهُ, that means this is what when you want something from somebody, you make him see you. Right? So فَتَعَرَضُ لَهُ, they were trying to show themselves to the Prophet ﷺ. فَتَبَسَّمَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم حِينَ رَآهُ. Prophet ﷺ smiled when he saw them. And you know why he smiled, right? Prophet ﷺ, if we explain how the Prophet ﷺ, we can stay for days and days to say that. And the manners of the Prophet ﷺ and the concern towards his ummah, nobody can attain. This is the most perfect, the perfect human being ever walked on the face of earth, right? And when he saw them like this, he smiled, and he smiled in such a way that has so much care and love for them. When he saw them, وقال, he said عليه الصلاة والسلام, أظنكم سمعتم بقدوم أبي عبيدة وأنه جاء بشيء. He said, I think that you heard that Abu Ubaidah came and he brought something with him. قالوا أجل يا رسول الله. They said, yes, O Messenger of Allah. Then the Prophet ﷺ, what did he tell them for us to learn? He said, فَأَبْشِرُوا وَأَمِّلُوا مَا يَسُرُّكُمْ, which means, فَأَبْشِرُوا, have the glad tidings, have the good news. وَأَمِّلُوا, have the good hope. مَا يَسُرُّكُمْ, what pleases you. Right? He did not tell them, oh, now you're coming for this. He tell them, have the أَبْشِرُوا, right? Have the glad tidings, have the good hope, what would please you. فَوَاللَّهِ, then he gave them the advice. فَوَاللَّهِ مَا الْفَقْرَ أَخْشَى عَلَيْكُمْ. He said, Wallahi, it is not al-faqr. It is not poverty that I fear for you. It is not poverty that I fear for you. وَلَكِنْ أَخْشَى عَلَيْكُمْ أَن تُبْسَطَ عَلَيْكُمُ الدُّنْيَا كَمَا بُسِطَتْ عَلَى مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ فَتَنَافَسُوهَا كَمَا تَنَافَسُوهَا. Which means that I fear for you that أَن تُبْسَطَ عَلَيْكُمُ الدُّنْيَا, that the dunya become, tubsat means that it's become so spacious for you, so wide for you. That means you will get so much of the materialistic things of the dunya, كَمَا بُسِطَتْ عَلَى مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ, as it was given in spaciousness and abundance to those who were before you. فَتَنَافَسُوهَا كَمَا تَنَافَسُوهَا. So you would compete in it, meaning in this dunya, as they did, the nations before you competed also in the dunya. وَتُلْهِيكُمْ كَمَا أَلْهَتْهُمْ, and as a result of that would make you, تُلْهِيكُمْ means, makes you forgetful, makes you heedless, makes you intoxicated, as it intoxicated them, and made them heedless. And another narration, فَتُهْلِكَكُمْ كَمَا أَهْلَكَتْهُمْ, and it will destroy you like it destroyed them. What destroyed them is this tanafus, is this competition in the dunya. When you compete with one of materialistic things of the dunya, what happens? It's not both will be winning. You compete with someone, that means one is winning and one is losing. Right? And there's always enmity as a result of this. But at tanafus, or to compete in matters of the hereafter, everybody's winning. Nobody's taking the reward of anybody. If you call someone to the deen, if you teach someone something of the deen, that person is getting reward and the other people are getting reward without diminishing anybody's reward. And the more the person do when people compete in matters of the hereafter, it's so spacious for everybody, nobody would lose anything. But once you compete in this dunya, it's very tight on its feet. You compete in it, you have to have someone gains and someone lose. That's why it brings so much hatred and so on. And it doesn't mean, of course, that people would leave the dunya, because actually it's a nonsense talk when we start saying, no, we should work in the dunya. Everybody knows that. We know that we have to work in the dunya. Right? We don't have to advise one another that we need to work hard in the dunya, because we already are doing this. Right? And whoever doesn't take the means in this dunya, he has problems with his intelligence. He's deficient. Right? So it doesn't need too much convincing. We are in need of to be convinced that we need to compete in matters of the hereafter. And to apply what the Prophet ﷺ is saying here in the Hadith, and seeing that poverty, if the whole Ummah of the Prophet ﷺ is in state of poverty, it will not make the Ummah backward or anything like that. The Prophet ﷺ said, فَوَاللَّهِ مَنْ فَقَرَ أَخْشَى عَلَيْكُمْ. Wallahi, I don't fear faqr or poverty on you. Right? Because people think that our being poor or having less, this is the source of all of our miseries. No, the source of our miseries is when we turn away from the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Being poor or rich, it's all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People take the means anyway. Right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decree for them what He will subhanahu wa ta'ala. Someone would say, but the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to seek refuge in Allah from al-kufr wal-faqr. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-kufri wal-faqr. You say, Allah, I seek refuge in you from kufr and faqr, from poverty. So what is then the meanings of all of this? Yes, poverty that would take the person away from the obedience of Allah, it's something that we should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from it. Because if a person is very poor, what happens? His heart is busy with the dunya, with this world. He wants to have money to eat, he wants to have shelter for his family. He's worried, his salah is not very good because of this, he's always worried. So this is also something a person should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect him from this. But you see the context of why the Prophet ﷺ told them this, and the concern is the concern of the deen, and that's the foundation of all things, and everything else comes when we secure the matters of the deen, and there's no contradiction. It's not either or, it's never either or. But the most important thing is, once, as they say, when it's too crowded, which either or, which one will the person choose? This dunya or the hereafter? Without no doubt, the believers, they choose the hereafter. But it's not all the time it's either or. Right? The matter is spacious enough that a person can have the goodness of both lives, but with the heart being set and settled on the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the hereafter. This is the concern of the hereafter. As we heard the hadith last week, Allahumma la aish illa aish al-akhirah. They used to say that, oh Allah, there is no life except the life in the hereafter. So their hearts are attached to the hereafter, they work in this life, they take the physical means, but their hearts are attached to the hereafter. Their concern is the concern of the deen, and nothing else, and as a result of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them the great reward. And the Prophet ﷺ, what he feared for his ummah, that once the dunya becomes so spacious for them and they have so much abundance of wealth and so on, what happened? They would forget about what they have been created for. They would compete in it like others, exactly the same. There's their sadness, their happiness, right? Their enmity, their goodness. They're good to each other because the dunya is okay. They're enemies to another because of this matters of the dunya. It's not the deen anymore that would get them to do what is right and to stay away from what is evil. Even relationships and so on, it's all based on the material.